The rise of Francois Fillon, seemingly from nowhere, changed the game. In the Republican primaries of 2016, Fillon received a more than convincing 44% of the vote in the first round and 65% in the second. The centre-right were united approaching the elections come April. Fillon, often referred to as France's answer to Margaret Thatcher, supports huge cutbacks in the public sector, advocates the liquidation of 500,000 jobs, a tougher stance on law and order, and increased immigration controls, as well as a reproach to Islam. Also unusual for France is his politicization of religion. Fillon openly portrays himself as a proud Catholic, something odd for a French politician. From this vantage, he spoke out against homosexual marriage and vowed not to legislate in favour of same-sex adoption. The story of the centre-left couldn't be more different. On December the 2nd, for the first time in the history of the Fifth Republic, the incumbent President François Hollande announced he would not be running for re-election due to record-high disapproval ratings. Come 2017, the socialist primaries consisted of 7 candidates, with the finalists in the second round being Benoît Hamon and Emanuel Valls. Benoît Hamon stresses a very different vision for France. He advocates the implementation of a 35-hour working week, a basic income for all French citizens, and a tax on machines used for industry to curb the effects of technological unemployment. He also draws from more libertarian strands of thought, advocating for the legalization of cannabis and euthanasia. Manuel Valls, on the other hand, can be seen as the leader of a more right-wing faction among the socialists. He is the interior minister of the incumbent Hollande and stoked criticism in 2016 following the Nice attacks, claiming the French would have to live with terrorism. He demonstrated a hardline authoritarian stance on politics when he threatened to ban the protest movement that erupted after Macron's controversial labour reforms, and also advocated banning the burkini. In the end, Benoît Hamon won the primaries, and he is the candidate of the Socialist Party. Next is Marine Le Pen of the Front National, who came to lead the party in 2011, becoming the successor of her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen. For more in-depth information, watch my video How Marine Le Pen Took France, link in the top right corner of this video. She's positioned herself as a populist leader and a political outsider, ready to shake up the political establishment. Policy-wise, she can be seen as left-leaning economically, but also nationalist in terms of immigration policy, with a strong preference given to French nationals over newly arrived immigrants and a pledge to hugely reduce immigration levels. She's also vowed to renegotiate terms of France's EU membership and then subject these to a referendum, something that would very likely lead to France's departure from the Union. Emmanuel Macron is most surprising. Appointed as economy minister under Hollande in 2014, he has experience in finance, being a former investment banker. He created tensions within the Socialist Party and within the government itself as he became more vocally critical of Hollande's policies. He called for market deregulation and was responsible for the Macron law passed in 2016 that aimed to liberalise the economy and resulted in large protests across the country. Perhaps it should also be noted that these reforms were also the result of EU pressure. The EU had been requesting France lower its budget deficit that was steadily increasing. Incidentally, one of the strongest critics of this reform came from within the Socialist Party as well, and the now presidential candidate, Benoît Hamon. This tension between Macron and his own party came to the fore in July of 2016. Macron founded his own political movement on Marche, which aims to transcend left-right divides and works for unification. 6 weeks later, Macron resigned and announced he would be running for president in November. Macron has never ran for election before and thus positions himself as a new and refreshing alternative from traditional politics. That said, he's incredibly centrist and stands for very little in terms of being different. This may be what helps him, but we will get back to that. So, what's happened? Well, at first predictions were that Marine Le Pen would win the first round of elections and then would be up against François Fillon in the second round, with Fillon ultimately expected to win. The general consensus was that many Front National supporters would have supported the more respectable Fillon over Marine Le Pen, as well as the country's strong Catholic contingent that Marine has alienated in recent years. On top of that, the majority of the French, it was thought, would mobilise and vote for Fillon in order to tactically keep Le Pen from power. A similar thing happened in 2002 when Jean-Marie Le Pen of the Front National managed to get into the second round of the elections against the incumbent Jacques Chirac. The masses amassed around Chirac in the second round and beat the Front National 83% to 17%. I questioned this line of reasoning though. What was at stake in the hypothetical Fillon versus Le Pen face-off wasn't issues of identity. Fillon takes a tough line on Islam, on crime, on immigration, although he is pro-EU. In these ways, he is quite similar to Le Pen, so either way, the electorate would have been voting for an increasingly nationalist candidate. On economics, though, the two couldn't be more opposed. As stated, Fillon supported slashing the public sector, reducing welfare, and cozying up to the EU. Le Pen literally wants to do the opposite, something that the left is sympathetic to, especially those who mobilised against Macron's reforms. Expecting the left to come out en masse and vote for Fillon solely to keep Le Pen out, who wants to protect their economic interests, seems a touch far-fetched to me. I think the more likely scenario would have been a remarkably low turnout. But this is the past. In the last few weeks, everything has changed. François Fillon has been caught up in a scandal involving using public money to pay his wife for a job she never did. In the 8 years between 1998 and 2006, Penelope Fillon has earned over €800,000 in her job as a parliamentary aide. Only the problem is, there is strong evidence to suggest she never did the job at all. In 2007, she even said to the Sunday Telegraph, "I've never been his assistant," which, in light of Fillon stating repeatedly that she was, is highly damning evidence. The police are now investigating a purported misuse of public funds case and have recently raided the lower house of Parliament. His support has plummeted. One poll found 61% of respondents believed he should step down from his presidential bid. Despite some internal pressure, Fillon has stood by his campaign. In one speech he stated, "People are not seeking justice, they are seeking to destroy me, and beyond me, to destroy the right and steal an election," clearly framing this issue as an orchestrated attack by the organised political left. Were he to step down, his potential replacements hardly seem more appealing, Alain Juppé or Sarkozy. Juppé already has a conviction for misusing funds, and Sarkozy is currently under investigation for other financial misdemeanours. Both have said they wouldn't step up as a Plan B candidate. Marine Le Pen has also encountered financial issues too, of sorts, although not nearly as damaging. The EU has ordered the repayment of some €300,000, claiming these funds were used to pay her EU parliamentary assistant, but was also used to pay this same assistant for work she conducted for the party in France. The assistant in question's place of work was contractually stipulated to have been Brussels, although she was unable to demonstrate she had ever lived there. Le Pen has refused to pay this sum, and as a result will have her EU wages docked. Discussing the matter, Le Pen stated, "In order to reimburse, I'd have had to have received the funds, but my name isn't François Fillon." Really, this will likely have little long-lasting significance. So now the situation seems to be one whereby Le Pen, who is still predicted to win the first round of the elections, will go up against Emanuel Macron. This changes a lot. As I've already said, Macron, although posturing as someone new and refreshing and different, really isn't proposing anything new, refreshing or different. Fillon, on the other hand, is. Only his vision for France was incredibly polarising, and thus, although forecast to get into the second round and win in a Fillon versus Le Pen scenario, likely would have mobilised less French people in his favour. Macron is a different kettle of fish entirely. His platform is interesting, but his views are decidedly bland. Frankly, this is ideal in the race against Le Pen. He claims to transcend party politics. He claims to synthesize ideas of left and right. Basically, he stands against the established parties, while in terms of policy, says nothing. This massively favors against Le Pen. Although Macron has ruffled a few feathers on the left with his Labour reforms, he is certainly more appealing to the broader French community than Fillon was. This means in a Macron versus Le Pen scenario, we could very well see masses voting solely to combat Le Pen, a rehashing of 2002, a move made all the more easy with Macron holding a platform of non-partisanship. We still have 2 months to go, a lot could change, I'll keep you updated. Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you see, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Please comment below if you have any questions, any queries, or would like to make a point of your own. Please do consider supporting me through Patreon or Bitcoin. Thanks a lot to my current patrons and donors. I really appreciate your kindness. As always, thanks for the support, and until next time.